Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I'm ready to do my first impressions on this interesting little piece of gear. If I do that, it kind of disappears into the closet, doesn't it? This is my Vero Engineering Fulcrum, but it's the mini Fulcrum. So Vero Engineering Mini Fulcrum. The Fulcrum is Vero's pry bar, and the mini Fulcrum is the mini version of his pry bar. Now, in my unboxing of this tool, I mentioned that it has a very particular feature that makes it more compelling to me than other pry bars on the market. I have tried with what I previously thought was the best option, or the most compelling to me at least, pry bar that was on the market. I spent a week with a Lynch All Access Pass in my pocket every day to see if I felt like it was I was justified in after that purchasing one and carrying it every day. If it converted me to feeling like I needed one of those, and it didn't. I didn't find that having a pry bar on me or a bottle opener like that also has on it. I even searching for things to do with it struggled to find uses for it. I carry usually 2 knives every day. I like to carry a primary and a secondary, and pocket space is somewhat limited for me. I don't like totally weighing myself down, so if a piece of gear is going to be on me, it's got to be worth it, right? And there just hasn't been any other pry bar that has felt justifiable to me. Now this one, on the other hand, has a very particular feature. If you look right here, you'll see it has a couple of Torx bits. And if you look right here, you'll see there's a slot to insert said Torx bits and use this as a bit driver. Now, like I said, I carry usually 2 knives on me everywhere I go. And it happens from time to time that a piece of hardware on the knife, whether it's the pivot or a body screw or whatever, might come a little loose. Maybe a clip screw does. That's one of the worst to have happen. I remember, gosh, it was probably like 2 years ago now. I had a ZT, I think it was the 609 in my pocket, and I had swapped on an MXG Gear deep carry titanium pocket clip, and it was way better with that clip than it was with the factory clip. And the clip matched the ano perfectly. It was a great clip. But I didn't Loctite the screws when I had put the clip on, and I was at my sister-in-law's house for my nephew's birthday or something, and I had used the knife a little bit, helping to open stuff, and anyways, the clip became really loose to the point where the screws were still in, but it was sliding back and forth on the scale, just shifting, and it felt loose in pocket, and it was an issue, right? And it wasn't that big of a deal because I noticed it, but I put the knife into my pocket instead of being clipped on my pocket, and then when I got home I immediately tightened it down. But what could have happened is that could have gotten loose enough that it would have fallen out of my pocket. In fact, earlier in the day we were in a public place on a train ride thing, a little kiddie train ride, and the knife had fallen out of my pocket, and luckily I noticed it as we were getting out, and I grabbed it and put it back in my pocket. That would have sucked to lose that knife, especially on a little kid's train. I don't want to cause a commotion. Some little kid finds a pocket knife, hey mom, look. That's not a good look, right? So I was glad that didn't happen. But yeah, it was later that night that I noticed the reason it had slipped out of my pocket was because the clip was actually loosening. Now, that's a very anecdotal, one-time story to prove the point that I think it's a good idea to have some Torx bits with you. Maybe not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time. The more often you have them, the more covered you are in case something goes wrong with a piece of your gear. On top of that, there are a bunch of Weehaw bits. Weehaw makes every type of driver, if you will, in this bit size. Basically, you can have Phillips, you can even have spanners, there's flatheads, there's Torx, there's Allens, there's all kinds of stuff. So if you really wanted, you could keep this in your kit and then a little pod of some extra bits or something, and it would be a great way to carry it. Now you could also just get a separate type of Weehaw driver and those bits, and you have the same solution. but this does also legitimately serve the purpose of being an excellent pry bar. I have friends who carry these, the mini version of this, and then also the full size, and use them all the time, beat on them, and use them for like pretty crazy stuff. And I've heard nothing but really good things. So I haven't pried anything with this yet, but I will be, I'm sure, prying something with it eventually. I just don't pry things that often. So I like the idea of having one with me in case I need it. But the more compelling thing about this for me is looking at it like it's a bit driver. So yesterday I carried this for the entire day. And I actually shot some really cool pictures of it with my Chavez. I'll see if I can loop one in. Anyways, I enjoyed carrying this all day. The way that I had it on me, since I've got the clip on it right now, was that I just put it in my fifth pocket, and I didn't even clip it on. Because I have found that with these O-rings that hold the bits in the clip, I have the O-rings all the way backed up into the last positions available for them, right? You see these notches that hold them in place. There's just not good clearance under the clip with those O-rings. So when I put this in my pocket with the O-rings on there, it like starts to shove the O-rings up, and I feel like I'm stretching them out, or that it's going to come off, and then these are going to like fall out into my pocket or something. It just doesn't work that well for me, the clip with the O-rings under it. But I think it looks awesome, and the clip didn't really like ruin it tossing it in my pocket. So for tossing in the pocket, it worked great like that. Also, if I was going to clip this onto a thinner material, it could totally work. But I also, when I got this, I ordered as well the clipless bit holder. So I've got, if you watch the unboxing, you'll see that's actually what it shipped with. It had the white clipless bit holder on it, so the whole thing was white Cerakote, which actually looked really cool. And then I also got the keychain attachment, which is really cool. So if I decided to keep this like on my keys, it's a key ring for it. So I've got options to play with. And the way that I see this working best for me is probably, I've been carrying a fanny pack like every day if I go out. I think this is just going to live in my fanny pack full time. Now, with that same logic, part of the reason why the Lynch pry bar didn't work for me was because I didn't see a justifiable reason to keep it in my pocket all the time if I hardly ever used it. Now, if I was keeping that in my fanny pack, that would make any pry bar make more sense, right? Because now I don't have to sacrifice pocket space to have it on me. This will be nothing in my fanny pack, the amount of space and pockets and stuff that are in there. This will be great in there. But so would a Lynch all-access pass. Now, the beauty of it is that this has a function that I also want to keep in my fanny pack. I would like to have a bit driver in my fanny pack and the most common bits that I would need to use. I think that's a great thing. With the all-access pass, it does not have a bit driver. What it does have is a bottle opener. I don't open a lot of bottles. It's just, I don't. And so I don't find that that's a thing that I ever see myself needing. It's not that I never need it. On occasion, I'll open like a glass bottle Coke or something, right? If I'm getting tacos, it's not uncommon for me to get a Mexican Coke. But I can usually open it wherever I am because they'll have a bottle opener, or if I'm drinking it at home, then I've got bottle openers here. Like, I don't like on the fly need bottle openers very often. I don't feel naked without one. I don't feel particularly naked without a bit driver, but I like the idea of having one. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm justifying this to myself and talking my own rationale out as I go through this with you, but my first impressions are, basically, after carrying it for a day, it went great. It was comfortable to just toss in my fifth pocket, the jeans that I wore yesterday, and it wasn't bothersome. It was nice to have there in case I needed it. The footprint is small and slim enough on here that it carries well. It's not overly heavy. Everything about this is pleasant to just have with me. In my fanny pack, I think it's going to make perfect sense. So I'm going to play around with whether I want to have the clip on it and clip it into one of the like slots on my fanny pack, because I think with the material internally that's on there, this might work well for that. There's a fleck of something on there. Or whether I want to swap it to the clipless one and just toss it in there, or maybe the keychain one. And even in my fanny pack, I think there's like a There's a little like draw cord thing in there with a clip dongle on it. I don't know if any of this is making sense, but with that clipless, or with the keychain one, I think I could clip it onto like a retention system that's in there. That could work as well. I don't know, I'll play with it and I'll figure it out. I'll also throw it in pocket a couple more times over the next week or so, and ultimately I'll be doing a full review, and hopefully I'll have more concise thoughts at that point as to how I feel about this, and hopefully I'll have some use to report, because I really haven't done anything real with this so far. I've put the bits in the actual driver and just seen how they work, and I will say, as a driver, it feels very good. I like that it's kind of flat so I can get some torque on it. I've just like adjusted the pivot on one knife with it, and yeah, I don't think I've done anything else with it. But anyway, these are my first impressions on the Vero Mini Fulcrum, or Fulcrum Mini, I don't know which you say first. This one happens to be really cool. I believe Fanatic Edge did the Cerakote on these, so this one's a white Cerakote with a black DLC clip and the black O-rings and drivers installed. So I think it looks pretty freaking cool. I'm very happy with it so far, and yeah, I think it's justifiable for me. I think I can justify having this with me and on me, and taking up the amount of space that it takes up for how much utility I can reasonably get out of it. That's a good way of saying it. Alright, let's end there. Thanks guys. I'll see you on the next one.